iClimb, Tutorial 2, Player Setup.
Hello users, this is the player setup tutorial for iClimb. I did cover this in the general iClimb setup, but to keep this video nice and short for the documentation, I'll go over only setting up the character in case you missed that. So after you've set up iMove and iClimb, I'll show you what a player should look like. So this is the iClimb demo scene. You can get there by going to Tools, Glass Vault Studio, iClimb, and then open demo scene. So at the top of the scene, you've got the player, and we can open up that prefab here. So how iMove works is there is a player object, and then once the scene starts, once the game starts, it spawns a child character object, and that's what you see. And so that is being affected by the root motion of the animator. And then it's using on animator move to drive the movement of the parent, the player. This way you can instantaneously switch characters back and forth without having to worry about the data for things like iClimb or other integrations. So your capsule collider, your character controller, your rigid body, your player input, that's all stuck on the player and it doesn't change. The only thing that changes when you change characters is the child character object that is driving the root motion, or maybe some of the animator-based integrations that reside on your child character. So for iClimb, what you want is just the iMove player object. Go to wherever the iMove component is, and you'll add it's already added here, but the iClimb component. So there it is. And I'll walk through some of the settings to make sure they're set properly for you. Once you add iClimb to your player, if you're going to be using free climbing, you need to make sure that the iClimb free climb layer is in the ground layers for your iMove. This way, if you're free climbing on not so vertical of a surface, iMove will recognize that after you cancel the climb, and you'll still be able to fall off that surface and not just get frozen in air. The player itself should be on the player layer. User layer 23 should be player with a capital P. And when you change this to player, you need to make sure that children objects are also on that layer. Okay, so now the player is on the player layer, number 23. Layer 23, 24, and 25 are important for iMove and iClimb. Unity uses an array for the layers instead of a map. It's interesting. Okay, so open up the iClimb component now on your player. And let's take a look at some of the settings and make sure everything's right. So by default, it should be set for a standard size humanoid character, about 2 tall. I'm not sure what 2 is in Unity, but I guess it's unitless. So over on the detection tab, these layers are important. So your free climb layer should be set up to iClimb free climb, which is layer 23, 4, 5, 25. The ledge climb layers, currently I have it set to default iClimb tag and iClimb free climb, because sometimes you may have free climb objects slightly in the way of a ledge, or you might have iClimb tags that are ledge tags, but they're sitting on a free climb surface. So I have it set to all three of these so that the raycast doesn't accidentally miss some of the ledges. Hang climb layers is not implemented yet. The warp collision layers, this is for whenever you're leaping and your player is in midair between positions. If you want it to collide with things, just keep it on everything. If you don't want it to collide with things and you want your character to breeze through stuff, then you can set this to nothing. Or if there's specific things getting in the way, maybe some vines or tree limbs or something, and you have those on a specific layer, you can tell this to ignore those when warping. And the raycast ignore layers. This is for anything you want the raycasts to ignore, like the raycast for finding the tags or for getting the surface normals. You definitely want to make sure transparent effects are on this ignore list. Ignore raycast and UI and player. So if you don't have the player on this ignore list, when you go to free climb, your character is going to start rotating all over the place because the surface normal is going to be hitting the player. And those are the important settings for the iClimb player, iMove player. I'll go over some of these other settings just to show you what that looks like. We'll go ahead and play the scene. Now, I think when I opened up the iClimb setup window, it re-imported these example materials and messed them up. Yeah, they're pink now. Okay, gonna have to fix that so that it only imports them when you click the setup button. But we'll ignore it for now. Okay, I started in full screen. That was a mistake. Let's go to game, play focus. That way we can change some settings and look at what stuff does. Okay, let's turn on gizmos. Gizmos, if they aren't showing up for you, just drop this down, make sure you have 3D icons enabled, and make sure that the iClimb and the tag manager gizmos are enabled. So we'll drop that down, and I'll go over to the scene view. And select the player. Okay. So under the General tab at the very bottom of iClimb, we've got different gizmos you can turn on and off. And these are to help you debug or to visually see different things like your detection range. So this is the range that iClimb is going to search for climbing entities. So if you go over to the detection tab, you can change this range. Changing the leap range, there's the max distance and then here's the min distance. Anything under the min distance will be smaller climbing. And then there's the angle. Then the detection origin. This is going to be where it starts some of the raycasts for detection. And then detection reference, whether it's using the player or the camera transform as its base reference. Let's undo those settings that we just changed. Okay, over in the General tab, we've got our warp options and leap options. So there's which buttons you want for leaping, whether it's leaping with sprint or leaping when you press jump, whether it warps based off of root motion or just a linear transform. I won't say linear, but something that would follow this curve more strictly without root motion influencing it. So here is the warp curve. This is the time versus speed that the player will warp to the tag. So if you, let's go back to game. Right now you'll notice the warping has a nice natural looking motion to it. But if you change that warping curve, let's make it just linear. We'll see what that does to this. It's much faster and doesn't speed up and slow down as much. Well, it's still using root motion, so if we change it to transform, then it's going to follow the curve exactly. Okay, so this blue ring around the player is the tag culling range or radius. Let's turn off that, turn off the surface normal, and click something else. Let's turn off 3D icons. Okay. So when you look up, it's going to assume you probably want tags in the up direction. And as you level the camera out, it's going to assume you could want tags in any of these directions. Using the move input, you can influence which tag is chosen. So if I hold up, it's going to search for a tag in the up direction within that radius. If I hold down, it's going to search for a tag with it that's more down, the furthest in the down direction that's still in the radius. So, and you can change this range in detection, and it should be under tag selection. Let's go straight so you can see this better. So tag selection, one other important setting is under the control menu in the general tab, the leap off wall button timing. So this is if you release the jump button before 0.25 seconds, it will do a warp. And if you release jump after that warp timing, so if you hold jump in, it's going to leap off the wall instead of to the next tag. So if we get over here and hold jump in, and if we hold it in for up to 1 second, it will use its max leap force and shoot your character off the wall. So if you don't want this, you can set this to a higher number. Another set of important settings are the inverse kinematics. If for whatever reason those are causing issues, maybe you have another integration that is not playing nice with it, you can turn these off, and they are public, so you can turn them off via code as well if the other integration is active, for instance. So if we turn allow reaching off, it is, let's go to a new tag. it's no longer going to reach whenever you look. So the hands will stay firmly on the tag. So if we turn that back on, so you know what that looks like, you can see the hands are moving around like you are reaching and looking in the direction. The lock feet while reaching. So right now the feet are nice and locked, but the animations by default do not have locked feet. They're all over the place. So if we turn that off, the feet are going to slide all over the place. So we'll turn off reaching and that, and then there is the ledge climb IK. So we could turn this off. Let's go to and then there is no ledge climb IK. There are reasons you may want this on or off. I prefer it on because it snaps those hands to the ledge. And then there's the allow free climb IK as well for when you're free climbing. There's the free climb IK offset and then the ledge IK offset. I have these set for this character's size, but if you have a larger character, you could change those here. And then there's the hand and feet lerp speeds, and then the rate of change for those speeds that you can tweak down here. The ledge check is going to check the top ledges to see if this is an appropriate place to climb up and dismount. So if we turn this on, you'll see these 3 spheres here, and it is not quite horizontal. So if we go up here, the blue line that it's shooting off is representing that ledge normal. So if we were to hold the forward movement and then press the jump button while looking relatively straight, it will get up onto that ledge. The surface measure, let's turn that on. We'll go over to the free climb area for that. Well, you can see it a little bit right here, but okay. So notice that white debug sphere, that is detecting the surface normal, and there's a ring around it. So it's doing a series of raycast arcs and unfolding those raycast until they hit the surface, which is what enables iClimb to do complex surfaces like these rocks. So if we were to just use a normal raycast, then the climb would cancel all the time because the surface normal varies greatly. But this kind of crawls the mesh and gets the average surface normal using the raycast arc approach. Okay, what's next? The falling grab range. So this is when the character is falling and you press the jump button to grab onto a climbing ledge. You can adjust this range so that the player is not allowed to grab that ledge after it's already past the ledge. That way it doesn't try to teleport you back up to the ledge. And lastly, we've got the events. So these are important events that you can subscribe to trigger different things with the other aspects of your game. For example, on Leap Start, I'm calling the GVS player sound manager to play the jump sound. That way it feels a little more lifelike when you jump onto the wall. But on Leap In, you could play another sound, or when he starts to reach, or maybe on Climb End. Let's see, where is Climb End? Might be here if the state changes to not climbing. And that is all for the iClimb player setup.